Hello and welcome to Sensational South. I'm Harish Upadhyaya. This is the show that gets you the flavor of South India. Our top story this week comes from Andhra Pradesh. The controversy over adulteration of Tirupati laddus has affected many people. In fact, devotees are worried. At the same time, there is a lot of politics being played over it. So how much of it is reality? How much of it is politics? We'll debate that, but first the story.
Adulteration in Prasad Laddus at the Sri Venkateshwara Temple in Tirupati has triggered a storm that refuses to die down. The showdown between Chandrababu Naidu-led state government and his predecessor YS Jagan Reddy seems to have reached a crescendo.
I am doing three angles. One is, first of all, purification, prokshanam, that they will conduct according to traditions, Agama Sampradayam. Second, I am ordering an inquiry, IGP level or more than that. Then the team will establish the facts. Finally, all temples, all prayer places, respect to religious people only will work.
From sanitizing the famous Kanak Durga temple in Vijayawada to performing special pujas, every measure is being taken to purify the temple after this controversy. Deputy Chief Minister Pawan Kalyan is observing an 11-day atonement ritual seeking forgiveness for the crimes committed by Jagan. He has also called for the creation of the Sanatan Rakshana Board.
The sanctity of Prasad has been, what happened to that. And it was quite deep pain for me at a personal level. It's quite sad. So personally, I have taken a diksha, some kind of prayashchit diksha for what happened. And I'm doing a 11-day prayashchit diksha. By the end of diksha, I would go to Tirumala.
While several others have once again revived their demand of freeing up temples from government's control.
ये मस्तिष्क में ही नहीं आया कि प्रसाद के रूप में हम लोग मांसाहार को भी ग्रहण कर सकते हैं। ये आस्था पे इतना बड़ा आघात है कि शायद वो शब्दों में ना बयां हो।
But the man at the center of this controversy, Jagan Reddy, continues to remain defiant, calling Naidu's heinous conspiracy to hide his failures.
Several times in the past, we visited Tirumala Temple Devasthana, even before I became the Chief Minister. And after I became the Chief Minister, every year, TTD invited me to divert the topic from the deeds that have been committed, from the faults that have been committed by Chandrababu Naidu. They have brought up another topic onto the forefront, barring people from entering the temple.
What has also put him on the back foot is his religion. Jagan, a practicing Christian, has been accused of violating norms of the revered temple, where it is mandatory for non-Hindus to declare their faith. But the TDP, BJP and Janasena have been training guns on him for never signing this declaration, despite visiting the hill shrine multiple times in the past. As for the devotees, there's a general sense of disbelief and betrayal.
We heard about it. It's actually very disappointing. Given the fact that this is one of the holiest temple for all the Hindus. It's our responsibility and it's a responsibility of the government as well. I seriously urge the government of AP as well. You have to protect the greatness of this holy place.
The larger question is, where does the buck stop? Should temples be freed from government control to ensure transparency and, above all, protection of one's faith? Bureau Report, CNN News 18.
Yes, the devotees are affected. It's a matter of faith of lakhs of people across the country. So what's the reality? To debate this, we have an eminent panel joining us today. We have Mr. Shilpa Rakhi Kushore, former MLA of YSRCP. We have Professor Jyotsna Tirunagiri, the leader from TDP. We have Suman Sriraman, political analyst, joining us on this show. Professor Jyotsna, I'll come to you straight up. Now, the question here is, Is there finally evidence, after all this that we have spoken over the last couple of weeks, that the first 4 tankers which were used for making laddu, they too were adulterated?
See, initially, I would like to tell you the facts. The fact is, there was a consignment that consisted of 8 tankers. Of the 8 tankers, 4 tankers were used.
Yes.
But when once those tankers was used and the laddus were consumed, the devotees started complaining of some sort of a smell coming from the laddus and some sort of quality issues with the laddus, which was also there earlier also. During their regime also, devotees were complaining. That's when immediately what happened was the remaining 4 tankers of that consignment were sent for adulteration tests, because the tests that happen in Tirumala are very basic tests.
Yes.
Something like regarding to their moisture content or things like that. But the adulteration tests do not happen in Tirumala. So even during our earlier regime, the tests were conducted outside. We would send the samples outside on a regular basis. But for the past 5 years, not a single sample was sent outside for adulteration testing. So when these tankers were sent for adulteration testing, it was very, I would say painful. To me, on a personal level, it was very painful to see that those particular tankers sample that was taken from them, that was adulterated. Immediately, the tankers were sent back. A show cause was issued to that particular supplier. In fact, he was blacklisted. The supplier was blacklisted, and also, what happened was the earlier 4 tankers that were used, they definitely consisted that this particular adult, because it was of the same, I can say the same, consignment. So that's the crux of the issue, Harish.
Okay.
But at the same time, I would also like to quote that immediately a vigilance inquiry started on that. Now, when after that, when it was a little bit, exposed, immediately the state government said, no, it has to be properly investigated, and that is the reason we have the SIT inquiring it on now. So it is a very, very serious matter. It is concerned belief and faith of almost crores of devotees across the world. So we need to deal it with a lot of sensitivity, and that was the reason when it was initially identified also.
A simple question.
Yeah. Yes,
in the minds of lakhs of people, politics aside, devotees, people who believe in Lord Venkateshwara Swami, the question is, why did the government speak about this so late? If I'm not wrong, the first report that came in was somewhere around 22nd of July is the first notice that goes to AR Diary. Why is it that much later in September we are made aware of this?
See, one thing, Harish, as I said, it is a very sensitive matter. So, moment it was identified, immediately.
Yes, absolutely.
First of all, that particular thing was stopped. That particular company was immediately blacklisted. That's one thing that we have done. And because it was just identified in the vigilance inquiries, Harish. So, and it's a very sensitive issue. So, we did not want it to politicize it, go and out of it. Slowly we got to take out all the details, and it took some time. Definitely, I'll say it's not like something like घर में से एक छोटा चीज आया उसके ऊपर हम लोगों ने फिर complain कर दिया, ऐसा तो नहीं है ना. We'll have to do a lot of inquiry also before we reveal it, because it is related to the sentiments of the people.
Point taken. Mr. Shilpa, the question to YSRCP is, from 2022 itself, there have been instances where tankers or samples have been collected and that consignment has been rejected. Yet, we did not have a sophisticated lab in TTD. This raises several questions, man. The temple we are talking about is one of the richest in the world.
Hi, Harish. Good evening to all the panelists on the table today. It is very sad to see our learned panelist speaking blatant lies on the national TV. She has been saying that the four tankers of ghee has been used as per the prasad, which in fact the EO has categorically denied that none of the tankers were used for making prasads. there's this process of giving tenders to a ghee contract has been going on for decades. This is not a new practice that has started only in YSRCP regime. It has been happening in TDP regime as well as YSRCP regime. Whichever government forms, it is the same process that has been happening. Every 6 months there's a new tender that comes up, and now whoever is the lowest quoted person, they have been given the contract. Likewise, the said contractor, the AR Dairy, whoever has been under the scanner now, has supplied to Tirumala. He had won the tender and he had supplied the tender ghee in July. The sad fact is, when 4 tankers, there's a very stringent standard practice that has been adopted in Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. None of the tankers will be cleared to make prasad or anything if they have failed to clear the tests that are being done at the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. In fact, every tanker has to go.
Tests are very basic in nature.
Yeah, see, this practice has been not happening right now. Anything that has been rejected by Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, this test has been going on even in TDP regime. I can share you a video where 8 years back during the Telugudesam Party regime, their people who were in power then and their officers had very clearly told on national television or on television in front of all the people that there are very good tests that are being done at Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam and none can pass those tests and nothing can go wrong. So 3 tests are being done, 3 separate tests have to be passed, and only once these are cleared, then the tanker enters the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. So here, all the 4 tankers were rejected, and this is not me saying it, or this is not someone from YSRCP has been saying it. This has been said by the EO of the temple, executive officer of the temple, has very clearly told on national TV that 4 tankers that were found adulterated were sent back. Not once, but twice on national TV, he has very clearly said that they were not used for making laddus. And yet, after all these, after EO clearly telling them also, though being the chief minister of the state, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu wants, to create a controversy, and he's been making, it is sad that, God has been dragged into a political slugfest today. This is not just me, South Indians, lakhs of devotees or crores of devotees across India. We consider Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam as a sanctity, as we don't want to do, we don't want to indulge politics with God. But today, when TDP is making politics out of it, it is very
sad. Mr. Aman, you've seen the whole politics being played out. Also, the timeline that's there ever since June 12th, and then the 4 tankers coming in, 4 others getting rejected, and then the report coming out, and finally the whole world getting to know about this now, just a few weeks back. How do you see this, sir? How much of it is politics, and how much of it is terrible administration at TTD?
No, I think first of all, we need to first find out where these 4 earlier tankers came from. To the best of my knowledge, there were 4 tankers. First tanker on June 12th arrived in Tirumala, the second tanker on June 20th, the third tanker on June 25th, and the 4th tanker on July 6th. Now, where are these 4 earlier tankers? When did they come? What were the tests which were carried out on them? What was, where the consignments earlier actually used? Because the AR Dairy also says the same thing. Executive officer of TTD is on record. He is on video saying that contaminated or adulterated ghee was not used. So I don't know. I mean, this whole thing is so bizarre now that, if adulterated ghee was used, which day did the tanker arrive? What were the tests done on those tankers? Did they fail? Did they, whatever tests were done in the existing infrastructure at the Tirumala? And also, we need to know very clearly, is it true that during Mr. Naidu's previous term, 14 samples have failed the test, and during Jagan's term, 18 samples have failed the test? Now, is it true or is it false?
Yes.
So none of this is being made, which is why I am now starting to believe that this whole thing is a political issue. which is very, very unfortunate. Because actually, on the day that I heard this, as a devout worshipper of Lord Venkateshwara, it really offended my sentiments also. But the more I see of this
Absolutely.
story, it seems to be that this is more targeted. Look, very simple. I want to know, okay, now Jagan Reddy cannot go tomorrow to Tirumala without signing a form. There are pictures of him inside the Tirumala Temple multiple times, including with the Prime Minister. So in that case, the
He himself has
TTD
said that.
officials, yes, I mean, my point is very clear. If the laws have been violated, is the TDP government going to prosecute all the executive officers of the TTD in those periods of time? Are they going to start now? Have the officials of the TTD, has an FIR been filed against the executive officer and the officials of the TTD for dereliction of duty? Nothing has been done. This whole thing is Jagan did this. It must be a conspiracy. So it's very clearly only targeted at Jagan Mohan Reddy. It does not seem to be at finding out the truth. And if there are guilty people involved, there doesn't seem to be any effort to prosecute them. It seems to be entirely targeted at
Professor
Jagan. Why it is suspicious?
That's the question. Lakhs of devotees, their trust in TTD and their faith, somewhere perhaps that has been hurt. Now, many are asking if this has happened because on a mere suspicion or assumption of those first 4 tankers being contaminated, this whole political storm has been triggered.
Absolutely not, Harish. In the same press meet that EO Garu has addressed, he was very clear when he said that this particular tankers, because it's a question posed to him, I think by one of the national media journalists itself, who asked, sir, ये जो tankers है, इनसे use किया गया था क्या? So he very categorically said these tankers have not been used because we have immediately seized and sent them back. That was his answer to that. Sumanji, let me just clarify
the first
the question
4.
there. Yes, I'm clarifying it. I'm clarifying.
Okay.
Sumanji has also asked a question, so I'm clarifying not only to Sumanji, I am also clarifying it to Raviji also. In the same press meet, EO Garu has very clearly stated that the entire 8 tankers have come from the same particular supplier during the same time frame, sir. There was no difference there. That's the reason, and also he said, जब वो use किए and there was a problem with the laddu, that's when they had to send them for adulteration test. And second point, sir, with regard to the declaration that Sumant Garu, Sumant sir, you had a question regarding to the declaration thing. I'll clarify, sir. When we were in opposition, that is from 2019 to 2024, whenever Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu in the position of the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, even during that particular point of time, when he went to Tirumala, then we asked him, because his own father signed a declaration, sir. His own father, Rajshekar Reddy Garu, signed a declaration earlier. Because that's the rule of the temple. That's not me or Chandrababu Naidu Garu or Modi ji or somebody. He did not frame it. Rajshekar Reddy Garu has signed that declaration. Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu did not sign. Even when we were in opposition, we have asked it. And as per Suman sir's question, sir, absolutely. Now the inquiry is on, sir. Now the inquiry is on in Tirumala on the various misdeeds. Not only one thing, sir. It's just not about the Laddu Prasada. It's about even the vigilance inquiries are happening on temple land also there. The vigilance
I hope all of them get punished for mistakes that they have committed.
Sir,
I'll quickly bring in Mr. Kishore.
One second, Harish. On the darshanas also, the inquiries are on, sir. And yes, as you correctly suggested, all the officials who have allowed Jagan without a declaration would also be taken to task, sir. Thank you for this particular input, sir.
Okay, fine. I'll quickly bring in Mr. Kishore. Mr. Kishore, the other aspect here is probably if the YSRCP hadn't tinkered with the tender conditions, reducing the overall money that's required in terms of turnover that's required, or the experience that's required, that is something that raises suspicion. The richest temple in the world should ideally go for the best supplier. Why is it that they reduce these conditions or change these tender conditions?
In fact, Harish, I don't know if you have seen the tender document. In fact, they have raised the standards of the ghee procurement practices. Even in 2023, if you see under Jagan Reddy garu, when the new tenders were being floated, they've asked for increased. The turnover has been increased. The demands, whatever the demands that they put in the tender, have been increased to make it to ensure that nothing of this sort happens.
Unfortunately, out of time on this debate. Thank you, Mr. Kishore. Thank you, Professor Jyotsna, and thank you, Mr. Suman Sriraman, for joining us on this debate. Well, that was the top story of the week. More news and updates on the other side. Welcome back. Bellatrix Aerospace, a startup from Bengaluru, has captured everyone's imagination with their ultra-low Earth orbit satellites and nanothrusters. They've also grabbed a contract from ISRO, and they've come up with their latest innovation and showcased it. CNN News 18 caught up with the founders, and also it's getting you a glimpse of these thrusters. So tell us, there's so much focus on new age space companies, the government pushing them. You've come up with this new module. What does it do? How does it stand out?
Thank you for having us. So what we want to do is we want to revolutionize the way space is basically done. We want to reduce the cost of accessing space. And space is getting crowded and the number of satellites going to space is increasing day by day. So we wanted to disrupt a newer segment, which we call it as very low Earth orbit, where satellite orbits are just around 200 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. But that orbit is not very good in terms of staying there for long, because there's still atmospheric particles present there, and that causes drag, where the satellite life without a propulsion system will be only a couple of days. But you need to sustain for a couple of years. So if you carry a propellant with you, a fuel, for example, because you need to continuously thrust, you will exhaust your fuel within 3 months. What we do is, because of our expertise in plasma physics and electric propulsion, so we have built a propulsion system which can use nitrogen present at the upper atmosphere, where we collect the nitrogen and convert it into a plasma and propellate it out. So which gives you thrust. We call it air breathing electric propulsion basically. Okay. So just like you have Teslas on the road, there's also electric revolution happening in space, and that's an area which we want to work on.
Well, time for a quick roundup of all the other major stories from across South India.
It's a major relief for former DMK Minister Senthil Balaji, as the Supreme Court has granted him bail after 14 months of incarceration. Senthil Balaji was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in June 2023 in connection with a money laundering case. Now, Senthil Balaji is likely to be re-inducted into the cabinet, and the same portfolios that he held will be given to him, is what sources tell CNN News 18. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin met Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the national capital earlier this week. M.K. Stalin submitted a memorandum to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, putting in requests including the release of the pending funds to implement various schemes for the state. War of words between Governor R.N. Ravi and the DMK government escalated earlier this week after the governor, at an event in Kanyakumari, said that secularism does not exist, it's more of a European concept and not an Indian concept, and that wrong interpretation of secularism is being used today. Reacting to this, DMK said that secularism is very much an Indian culture and it's as per the constitution, and that the governor should first read the constitution to understand what secularism is all about.
Political tussle over the functioning of Hydra continues. Now, Union Minister Jagan Reddy has written to Chief Minister of Telangana, Jagan Reddy, accusing him of demolishing houses belonging to the poor and allowing Hydra to act in a unilateral fashion. He has questioned why no action against the illegal properties owned by the Owaisi brothers. As providing employment to the youth remains a key focus and a core promise of the ruling Congress government in Telangana, Chief Minister Jagan Reddy has urged skill development centers to function freely and ensure that the modern youth are in fact equipped with modern technology so that they can be employed at all sectors across the country and even beyond that. Devra has finally hit the screens, opening to packed houses in both the Telugu states, and good response across the country. Starring Junior NTR in double role, the film sees action-packed performance and some really stunning underwater sequences that seems to have become the talk on social media. The film also stars Janhvi Kapoor, who is making her debut in Tollywood, and Saif Ali Khan in key roles.
Well, that's all we could pack in this edition of Sensational South. We'll be back next week with more stories. Thank you for watching.